Today we have apples to taste. It is, what is it, like the 17th of September or 18th, something around there. I have some new apples that we haven't tasted yet. Some are probably over the hill and some are probably not quite ripe, but I think we have some that are, worth checking out. These would be known as early apples. It doesn't really work to divide apples into early, mid, and late because this is a fruit that you can have, depending on where you are, from maybe even as early as June, certainly July, through here into off the tree through January. So we kind of need like maybe five or six groups of apples. They're as follows. Skinner Seedling. This is from the 1800s, maybe like 1850s or 1880s, something like that. Bred by a Judge Skinner in Santa Clara, California. This is gravenstein, very famous, very old apple. This is Mother, also a pretty famous apple. This is Sunrise, St. Edmund's Pippin, or St. Edmund's Russet as it's sometimes called. Hollow Log, at least that's what the label says. And this is one of my seedlings from Wixon. So this is an open pollinated seedling, one of three that I grew out and was able to try. This is the third one I'm trying. I did have it last year, but it didn't seem like it was really at its best. So it's a pretty good apple year. I can't even eat fruit anymore. Like, I can't eat fruit. I can hardly eat vegetables. Anything with like pectin or any other kind of soluble fiber, hard fiber, starch. I can't eat any starch. It's just ridiculous. Like, my life sucks. I know you probably all think it's awesome. It was awesome for about 6 weeks, and now it's like 90% suck. Including the fact that I can't even eat enough to get, enough calories. So let's try Skinner's Seedling. Wixon lists this as excellent. Yeah. It's way over the hill. Here, chickens. It's huge. I just like chew on them and spit out the pulp, and at this point I'm like afraid to even swallow the juice. It's ridiculous. This is gravenstein. It's probably overripe too. Yeah, that's quite good. It almost looks like Viking, but it's not. I picked all the Vikings. It's overripe, but it's very gravensteinish, and Viking and gravenstein have a lot in common, although I don't believe they have any parents in common. Okay, Mother. This is a fairly famous early apple. Even the English grew Mother. That's saying a lot. Excellent. This is a real complex fruity flavor, quite a bit of sugar. There's certainly some acid there to balance it, but it's not a tart apple. This is the best Mother apple I've ever had. Very nice fruit candy type of flavor. Thumbs up. I'm not even going to taste this one because this looks prime right now. It's got like the green parts have turned mostly a little bit yellowish. I doubt that could be topped. Sunrise. It's really good. This is how it always is. It's very, very mild. It's got excellent texture, real crunchy for people like that crunchy, but the flavors are very mild. This is certainly not ripe yet. It'll get better. The sugar will go up, but the flavors are always kind of like just, sugar cane or green grape or something like that, real mild. I think it was last year, I got one off the tree that had been hanging for a long time. It was in the sun, which my other branch that I'm used to tasting them off isn't in the sun. That apple was more intriguing and had more flavor and more sugar, and I was like, oh yeah, this is more interesting than I thought. I like it. It's a refreshing, it's real easy to eat. It's refreshing. It doesn't really demand your attention or anything. I'd say it's worth growing, if you have like a lot of grafts on a tree or something like that. St. Edmund's Russet. This is the first year I've really got to eat any of these. I'm not sure if it's at its prime now. Let's try this one. It'd be about the same though. That's even softer. This is the most pear-like apple I have ever tasted. If I blindfolded someone and gave this to them, they might think it's a grainy pear. It smells like a pear. It tastes like a pear. It has like a grainy pear texture. It's a very light apple. There's almost no juice. It's real dry, and that's probably because of the russet skin. I've heard that causes them to lose moisture, but it's a very, very light apple. So the ones I tasted earlier than this were about the same, just a little bit better texture, but I'm not super stoked about this. I've had some in the past off another tree that seemed intriguing, but they were just real stunted, and that caused me to actually graft a whole branch of this on a tree, but now I'm thinking I might graft that over to something else. I mean, if I want a pear, I'll eat a pear. All right, this is Hollow Log, at least that's what the label says. It's an old southern apple. There's a really cool book called Old Southern Apples. If you're in a hot region, if you're in the south, you might take a look at this book. So let's try Hollow Log. This is in that book. I remember seeing it in that book. It's tart, not quite ripe yet. It seems like it has potential, fairly acidic, kind of like a vitamin C flavor, I guess. The flavor's okay, flesh is hard. You hear that? Very hard, like dense hard, heavy. You know those little fizzy vitamin C drinks? Kind of, you could make one of those into an apple. It'd be interesting to see what this tastes like in 1 to 3 weeks. And finally, some friends of mine, I helped them out with building a root cellar, and they gave me a box of Wixon apples, and I was eating them and I thought, this is so good. Like, how could the seedlings from this turn out, you know, mostly bad? Like everyone says, you know, you can't grow an apple from seed or it'll turn out bad. And so I was like, screw it, I'm going to plant some. I think I planted maybe 6 or 7 seeds. I ended up grafting 4 or 5, and I ended up bringing to fruition 3 of those, and this is the 3rd one. I did get to taste this last year, and I was just like, yeah, that's not very impressive, not that interesting. It wasn't bad in any way. But this year I'm hoping it'll shape up, because sometimes apples need to bear for a few years before they come into their full quality. My guess, though, is that this is not ripe, but let's find out. It's got just a hint of the Wixon flavor, but just it's real subtle. But I actually tasted one off the tree earlier today, a different one. It had more of that Wixon flavor. So I'm kind of hoping that this year and maybe even next year it'll have more. It's not bad. It seems a little bit promising. I mean, if I was going to eat any apples on this table, #1, absolutely. Gravenstein. This is a little on the old side, but it's still really good. That, forget it. These, not interested. This I would eat. This I wouldn't bother finishing, although it may not be ripe yet. I mean, it might compete with this, especially if it was fully ripe. No, it does have it. It has this Wixon flavor that you find in crab apples. No, yeah, it's definitely there. Interesting. Well, I hope this shapes up. I don't think it's going to be as good as Bite Me, which is my other Wixon seedling. And then the 3rd Wixon seedling that I fruited from this group of seeds made very small green apples that were just insipidly sweet. Like no bitterness, no sourness. The myth goes that if you grow an apple from seed, it'll be hard, sour, and you know, that's kind of the stereotype of a seedling apple. Well, none of these were that way. One is very good, I would call it. This one is, I would say, if this is just right, I'm going to say it's going to be at least good, and with no major flaws at all, unless you consider the size of flaw. This is quite a small apple. It's you know, bigger than Wixon, but it's pretty small. And then the 3rd one was just insipid sugar, you know, not a ton of sugar, not even that good, but just little tiny green apples. I cut that one off the 1st year because it was just not worth messing with. But you know, 2 out of 3 ain't bad for edible apples. So again, with the myth about growing apples from seed, screw that. It's not really true. However, of course, your results may vary. I picked one of the best apples I know and grew that from seed, but they're open pollinated. They're from my friend's farm. They grow tons of different apples, and they're just randomly pollinated by whatever the pollen the bees carry. Okay, let's go through these. So gravenstein has, it's very old. It's traveled all over the world. It has had more than one name, and there's a good reason for that. You know, the quality is really good for an early apple. It makes excellent sauce and pies, and it's just great. It's hard to describe what it's like. It's kind of effervescent, fairly acidic. This mother apple is outstanding this year. It has excellent fruit candy type of a flavor, which I just love in an apple. I'm going to taste it again. I just want to eat these apples. I'm hungry. Very satisfying. And I could really see the juice from this being excellent. Mother's a winner. You know, that's pretty much what all the literature says. Sunrise, again, light eating, easy to eat, excellent texture, fairly high sugar, fairly low acid, pretty much just an unoffensive good apple. Wicks and Seedling number 3 from the Apple Farm, open pollinated 2011. It's looking fairly promising, you know. I mean, I only need so many apples that are just good. They're okay, and I could use them for juice, and I could eat some, and I could use them for sauce or whatever. The Wixon flavor is definitely there, though. I'm going to give that apple another 2 weeks at least, 2 to 3 weeks, 4 tops to be at its best. Okay, thank you for watching. Wish me luck. I'm getting a new doctor, yet another new doctor, to see if someone can help me with these problems I have and make my life suck less. Because it sucks. Wah.